The stars looked different when you knew something was coming to kill you. Captain Jake stood on the observation deck of the space station, watching Earth turn slowly below him. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from up here, but Jake knew that peace was about to end. 3 days ago, the message had arrived. It came from somewhere beyond the solar system, transmitted on frequencies that human technology could barely detect. The translation had taken 24 hours, and when it was finished, every government on Earth went into emergency session. The message was simple and terrifying. A species called the had been watching Earth for 50 years. They had studied human technology, counted human weapons, and measured human strength. Now they were coming to take what they wanted. Jake walked down the corridor of the station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He had been a soldier for 15 years, fighting in wars that now seemed like children's games. Desert combat, urban warfare, mountain fighting, he had done it all. But this was different. This was not human against human. This was human against something that came from the stars. The command center was busy when he arrived. Officers moved between computer screens, checking data and sending messages to Earth. The main screen showed a map of the solar system, with small red dots marking the approach of the alien fleet. 300 ships, each one larger than any building on Earth. "Captain," called out Colonel Dan Murphy, the station commander. "We just got word from the president. She wants to speak with all senior officers in 10 minutes. Jake nodded and took his place at the briefing table. Around him sat the best military minds that Earth could gather. General Peter Cole, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, looked tired but determined. Dr. Lisa Park, the scientist who had been studying the alien signals, clutched a tablet full of data about their enemies. The screen flickered, and President Helen Martinez appeared. She was in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by advisors and military officials. Her face was calm, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. "Ladies and," the president began, We are facing the greatest threat in human history. The fleet will reach Earth in 6 days. Their message was clear: surrender half our population to serve as slaves, or watch our planet burn. Jake felt his jaw tighten. He had seen what happened to people who became slaves. It was not a fate he would wish on anyone. Dr. Park, the president continued, please share what you have learned about our enemies. The scientist stood up, her hands shaking slightly as she activated her presentation. They are not like us, she said. They are silicon-based life forms, not carbon-based like humans. They live for thousands of years, and their technology is far beyond ours. They have conquered 17 star systems, and they have never lost a war. The room was quiet as she spoke. Jake could hear the soft hum of the station's air recycling system, the distant sound of computer keyboards clicking. They are incredibly strong, Dr. Park continued. Their ships can destroy cities with single shots. Their soldiers wear armor that our bullets cannot penetrate. In every way that we measure military power, they are superior to us. General Cole leaned forward. What about their weaknesses? Every enemy has weaknesses. Dr. Park looked uncomfortable. That is the problem, General. We have found very few weaknesses. They seem to have evolved on a world with very stable conditions. No diseases, no extreme weather, no biological threats. Their entire civilization is built around order and control. Jake raised his hand. Doctor, you said they evolved on a stable world. What does that mean for us? It means they have never had to adapt to chaos, Dr. Park replied. There was predictable. The species they conquered lived on similar worlds, places where conditions did not change much over time. Something clicked in Jake's mind. He had grown up on a farm in Kansas, where the weather could change from sunshine to tornado in an hour. He had served in deserts where the temperature dropped 50 degrees at night, in jungles where every plant and animal was trying to kill you, in mountains where the air was so thin that every breath was a struggle. Earth is not a stable world, he said quietly. Dr. Park nodded. No, it is not. Earth is what we call a chaos world. The climate changes constantly. We have ice ages and warm periods. We have diseases that can kill millions. We have predators, parasites, and poisons. Life on Earth is a constant battle for survival. Our President Martinez spoke from the screen. The question is, can we use that to our advantage? Before anyone could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the station. A communications officer turned to Colonel Murphy. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the fleet. They are demanding to speak with Earth's leaders. The main screen changed, showing a view of space beyond the moon. There, arranged in perfect formation, was the enemy fleet. The ships were massive, shaped like crystal spears that caught and reflected the light from the sun. They looked beautiful and terrible at the same time. A new voice filled the command center, translated from the alien language into cold, mechanical English. Humans of Earth, I am commander of the Empire. We have arrived to claim your world. You have one rotation of your planet to surrender. Submit now, and half your species will be relocated to serve our empire. Resist, and we will reduce your world to ash and dust. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Jake looked around at his fellow officers. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. All of them looked ready to fight. President Martinez broke the silence. Commander will have his answer tomorrow. The human race does not kneel to anyone. If they want our world, they will have to come down here and take it. Jake smiled grimly. He thought about the coming from their perfect, stable world to fight on Earth. They had studied human technology and counted human weapons. But they had never lived through a blizzard, or survived a plague, or fought in a jungle where every shadow could hide death. They were about to learn what it meant to fight a species that had been at war with their own planet for millions of years. Earth was going to teach them a lesson they would never forget. The fleet hung in space like a collection of deadly jewels. Commander stood in the center of his command ship, watching the small blue planet that had dared to refuse his demand. His 6 arms moved in patterns that showed his confusion and growing anger. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever said no to the Empire. The aquatic had surrendered after seeing just one demonstration of plasma weapons. The insect-like had given up when their hive queens calculated the odds of victory. Even the technologically advanced had laid down their weapons rather than face total destruction. But the humans were different. They had seen the fleet, had received the ultimatum, and had chosen to fight anyway. Could not understand it. His intelligence reports showed that human weapons were primitive compared to technology. Their largest ships were tiny compared to vessels. Their military was divided into dozens of separate nations that barely cooperated with each other. Battle commander called to his military leader. Begin the preliminary bombardment. Target their major population centers. Once they see their cities burning, they will surrender. On Earth, Admiral Richard stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship. It had been built in secret over the past 5 years, using technology that pushed human engineering to its limits. But even knew it was no match for the alien fleet above them. Admiral called out his communications officer. We are detecting energy buildups in the ships. They are preparing to fire. Looked out at the small fleet of human ships arranged around him. 47 vessels in total, most of them converted civilian craft with military weapons bolted onto their hulls. Behind them, Earth turned in its orbit, blue and beautiful and completely defenseless against the firepower pointed at it. All ships, spoke into his microphone, engage evasive maneuvers. Make them work for every shot. The first plasma bolts lit up the space around Earth. They were beams of pure energy that could melt through a mile of solid rock in seconds. The human fleet scattered like birds before a storm, their smaller size and greater maneuverability the only advantages they had. but was not trying to win a space battle. He was buying time for the real plan to begin. Deep underground in a laboratory beneath Geneva, Doctor worked frantically over her computer screens. She had been studying the biological samples that human intelligence had managed to collect from ships. What she had found was both terrifying and hopeful. There were silicon-based life forms, as Dr. Park had said. But more importantly, they had evolved on a world that was completely sterile. No bacteria, no viruses, no parasites, no disease of any kind. Their immune systems existed only to fight damage from physical injury or chemical poisoning. They had never encountered biological warfare because such things simply did not exist on there. Doctor called to her colleague across the lab. Have you finished the atmospheric analysis? Doctor looked up from his microscope. Yes, and it is even better than we hoped. The air sample from the landing probe contains no biological organisms at all. Their environmental suits are designed to keep Earth's atmosphere out, but they are not designed to fight Earth's microscopic life. Smiled for the first time in days. How long do you think they could survive if their suits were breached? In Earth's atmosphere, minutes, maybe seconds. Our planet is full of microorganisms that would be instantly lethal to them. They have no resistance to bacteria, viruses, fungi, or parasites. Earth's biosphere would kill them faster than any weapon we could build. Meanwhile, Major Alex Turner was coordinating with military units across the globe. The plan was not to meet thee in open battle, where their superior technology would crush humanity quickly. Instead, human forces were preparing for something the aliens had never encountered in their thousands of years of conquest. Lieutenant Brown, Alex spoke into his radio. Are your forces in position beneath New York? Yes, sir, came the reply from Captain Lisa Brown, who was leading a squad through the subway tunnels under Manhattan. We have mapped every tunnel, sewer, and basement in the city. When they land, we will be ready. In the Amazon rainforest, Indigenous guide Carlos Santos was working with Brazilian military forces to prepare jungle warfare tactics. The aliens would find the dense, humid environment completely different from anything they had ever experienced. In Alaska, Lieutenant Commander Rachel Green was positioning her forces in the frozen wilderness, where temperatures could drop to 50 below zero. The coming from their climate-controlled ships would find the cold more dangerous than any human weapon. But the most important preparation was happening in laboratories around the world. Scientists were working with samples of Earth's most dangerous microorganisms, preparing biological weapons that did not need to be fired from guns or dropped from planes. They only needed to be released into the air that they would breathe. Above Earth, the space battle continued. Human ships darted between vessels, firing their primitive weapons at targets that barely noticed the impacts. 3 human ships had already been destroyed, their crews vaporized by plasma beams. But the aliens were getting frustrated. They had expected the human fleet to be destroyed in minutes, clearing the way for a quick ground invasion. Instead, the small human ships kept moving, kept fighting, kept refusing to die quickly. "Commander," reported his tactical officer, "the human vessels are using irregular maneuvers. They do not follow standard military doctrine. Our targeting systems are having difficulty predicting their movements." Studied the tactical display with growing irritation. The humans were fighting like wild animals instead of civilized soldiers. Their ships moved in chaotic patterns that made no sense according to military science. They seemed to be fighting without any plan or strategy. He did not understand that chaos was exactly the point. Humans had learned to fight in chaos because they had been born into it. Every human pilot had grown up on a world where storms could appear without warning, where earthquakes could split the ground, where nature itself was unpredictable and deadly. "Enough," declared. "Begin the ground invasion. Land our forces in their major cities. Once we control their population centers, their fleet will surrender. Across the fleet, landing ships prepared to launch. Each one carried 1,000 soldiers in environmental suits, armed with weapons that could cut through steel and armor that could stop human bullets. They were the elite forces of the Empire, veterans of a dozen conquests. As the first landing ships descended toward Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Richards sent a final message to all human forces. "This is it, people. They are coming down to us. Show them what Earth can do." The real war was about to begin, and they were about to learn their first lesson about fighting on a world where life itself was a weapon. The first landing ships crashed into Central Park like falling stars. Each ship was the size of a city block, their crystal hulls glowing with heat from their passage through Earth's atmosphere. Steam rose from the grass where they landed, and the ground shook for miles around. Captain Lisa Brown crouched in the subway tunnel beneath Manhattan, listening to the sound of alien footsteps above her head. Through her radio, she could hear reports from around the world. London, Tokyo, Berlin, Moscow. Every major city on Earth was being invaded at the same time. "This is Brown to all units," she whispered into her microphone. "Enemy forces are moving through the park. They are in formation, heading toward Fifth Avenue. Remember the plan, let them get into the city, then we surround them." Above ground, soldiers marched through New York streets in perfect lines. Each soldier was 7 feet tall, covered in armor that looked like living metal. Their weapons hummed with energy, and their helmets showed no faces, only dark glass that reflected the city lights. The humans had evacuated the civilians days ago, leaving the city empty except for the resistance fighters hidden in buildings, sewers, and subway tunnels. It looked like the humans had run away in fear. They did not know they were walking into a trap. Commander led the New York invasion force. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Empire, and Earth looked like it would be the easiest yet. The humans had not even tried to defend their city. Their military was nowhere to be seen. "Report," he commanded his lieutenant. "No resistance encountered, Commander. The human population appears to have fled. We are detecting scattered life signs in the underground areas, but they are not showing any organized military activity." Nodded inside his environmental suit. This was how it always went. The primitive species saw power and lost the will to fight. Soon the human leaders would surrender, and this world would belong to the Empire. But in the tunnels below, Lisa Brown was watching everything. Her soldiers had cameras hidden throughout the city, and they could see exactly where the aliens were going. They were following the main streets, moving in predictable patterns, just like they had on every other world they had conquered. Team 1 moved to position Beta, she ordered. Team 2, seal the exits on Park Avenue. Team 3, prepare the surprise. The surprise was something they had never encountered before. In the basement of an abandoned office building, Sergeant Mike Davis was opening a container that held something more dangerous than any bomb or bullet. Inside were samples of Earth's most common bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Organisms that lived in every breath of air on the planet. Mike put on his protective mask and opened the vents that led to the building's air system. Within minutes, the invisible weapons would be flowing through every corridor and room where they were setting up their command center. 3 blocks away, the first alien soldier began to stumble. His environmental suit had been damaged by a piece of falling debris, creating a tiny crack in the seal around his left arm. Air from Earth began to seep inside. The soldier did not notice at first. The crack was small, and his suit's systems were trying to compensate. But Earth's microscopic life was already inside, attacking his silicon-based biology with ruthless efficiency. Doctor, monitoring the situation from her underground laboratory, watched the biological sensors they had placed around the city. "Doctor, are you seeing this? Atmospheric contamination is spreading through their suits faster than we expected." studied his computer screen with excitement. The humidity in New York is perfect for bacterial transmission. Their filtration systems cannot handle the volume of biological organisms in Earth's air. In Central Park, more soldiers were beginning to show signs of distress. Their movements became unsteady, and some were falling to their knees. The few who tried to remove their helmets to breathe fresh air died within seconds, as Earth's atmosphere flooded their lungs with deadly microorganisms. Commander received the first reports with disbelief. "What do you mean they are falling sick? We have encountered no weapons fire, no chemical attacks." "Unknown, Commander. The soldiers are experiencing system failures in their environmental suits. Medical teams report biological contamination, but we cannot identify the source." Had fought on worlds with poisonous atmospheres before. The environmental suits were designed to handle chemical weapons, radioactive environments, and extreme temperatures. But they had never been designed to fight an invisible war against organisms too small to see. In the Amazon rainforest, the situation was even worse for the invading aliens. The hot, humid air was thick with biological life. Soldiers found their suits failing within hours of landing. The jungle's dense canopy blocked their communications, and the irregular terrain made their advanced sensors useless. Carlos Santos moved through the trees like a ghost, leading Brazilian soldiers in hit-and-run attacks. But they barely needed to fight. The jungle itself was killing the invaders faster than any human weapon could. "This is Carlos to command," he whispered into his radio. "The enemy is retreating to their landing ships. Their equipment is failing in the humidity. Many of their soldiers have collapsed." In Alaska, Lieutenant Commander Rachel Green was watching similar scenes in the frozen wilderness. The suits, designed for the stable temperatures of there, could not handle the extreme cold. Ice was forming inside their equipment, and their energy weapons were losing power in the sub-zero air. But the most devastating discovery came from London, where the first environmental suit had been completely breached during combat in the city's ancient sewer system. Sergeant Tony Martinez, an American advisor working with British forces, watched in amazement as the alien soldier began convulsing the moment Earth's air touched his skin. "Command, this is Martinez. You need to see this. The alien just died from breathing our air. Not poison gas, not chemicals, just regular Earth atmosphere. It killed him in 30 seconds." The report spread through the human resistance network like wildfire. Earth's greatest weapon was not technology or military strength. It was life itself. 4 billion years of evolution had created a planet where organisms were locked in constant biological warfare, developing and adapting to survive against countless threats. Humans had evolved in this environment. Every breath they took contained thousands of microorganisms that their immune systems could handle. But to the coming from their sterile, Earth's air was more deadly than any poison. Dr. Lisa Park, analyzing the data from around the world, made the connection that would change everything. "We are not just fighting an invasion," she announced to the Emergency Council. "We are watching an immune response. Earth is treating the like an infection, and our planet is fighting back." President Martinez, speaking from her mobile command center, addressed the resistance forces worldwide. "Keep them on the ground. Do not let them retreat to their ships. The longer they stay on Earth, the weaker they become. Our world is fighting this war for us." Above the planet, Commander received reports from his ground forces with growing horror. In every major city on every continent, his soldiers were falling sick and dying, not from human weapons, but from simply being on the planet's surface. The species that had conquered 17 star systems was learning their first hard lesson about Earth. This was not a civilized world with predictable conditions. This was a place where life had been at war with itself since the beginning of time, and humanity had survived by becoming part of that war. They had asked for power through conquest. What they were getting was a biology lesson that would cost them everything. 6 weeks after the invasion began, Commander stood in his sterile command chamber, staring at reports that made no sense. Of the 300,000 soldiers he had sent to Earth's surface, less than 50,000 remained operational. The rest were dead, dying, or trapped in their landing ships, too sick to fight. "This is impossible," he said to his science officer, Dr. Al. "We have conquered worlds with poisonous atmospheres, radioactive surfaces, and extreme temperatures. How can a simple biological environment defeat our forces?" Dr. Al's 6 arms moved nervously as he reviewed the data. "Commander, Earth is unlike any world we have encountered. It is not just inhabited by life. It is a planet where life exists in a state of constant warfare. Every organism here has been shaped by billions of years of biological combat. On Earth's surface, the human resistance was discovering just how right the alien scientist was. Captain Jake, now commanding ground forces across North America, received reports that seemed impossible to believe. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are getting reports from medical teams worldwide. Humans exposed to small amounts of technology are developing resistance to their energy weapons. Not just immunity, they are getting stronger." Jake studied the reports from field hospitals across the globe. Soldiers who had been hit by plasma weapons but survived were showing remarkable recovery rates. More than that, they seemed to be adapting to the alien technology in real time. Doctor, working with medical teams in New York, had been studying this phenomenon for weeks. "It is incredible," she told Doctor over their secure communication link. "The human immune system is not just fighting off the biological effects of weapons, it is learning to use them." In London, medic Tony Martinez was treating wounded resistance fighters in an abandoned hospital. He had seen things that should have been impossible. Soldiers with severe plasma burns were healing faster than anyone had ever seen. Some were even showing improved strength and endurance after their recovery. "Doc," Tony called on his radio, "you need to see this." Private Johnson here took a direct hit from an alien energy weapon 3 weeks ago. His wound has not just healed. The scar tissue seems to be resistant to heat and radiation. His voice crackled back through the static. That matches what we are seeing everywhere. The human body is treating technology like a disease and developing antibodies against it. We are literally evolving in real time to fight this threat. Meanwhile, the forces on Earth were falling apart. In the ruins of Tokyo, Commander as watched his soldiers retreat into their landing ships. Those who remained outside for more than a few hours became too sick to fight. Earth's microscopic life was attacking them on a cellular level, and there was nothing their medical technology could do to stop it. "Commander," he reported to the fleet, "request immediate evacuation. My forces are at 12% operational capacity. Earth's biological contamination is spreading through our equipment faster than we can contain it." Similar reports came from every continent. In Sydney, forces had tried to establish a base in the desert, thinking the dry climate would be safer. Instead, they found that Earth's extremophile bacteria thrived in conditions that should have been sterile. In Cairo, aliens attempting to use the pyramids as defensive positions discovered that even ancient stone was home to microorganisms that could breach their suits. But the most devastating blow to morale came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lisa Park, analyzing captured alien equipment, made a discovery that changed everything about the war. "President Martinez," she reported to the Emergency Council, "we have been thinking about this war wrong. They are not just vulnerable to Earth's biology. They are dependent on sterile conditions to survive. Their entire civilization is built around avoiding biological contamination." Jake, listening to the briefing from his command post, began to understand. "You are saying they have never had to develop natural immunity to anything." "Exactly," Dr. Park replied. Their immune systems are like those of someone who has lived their entire life in a sterile bubble. The moment they encounter real biological diversity, their bodies cannot cope. This revelation led to a new strategy. Instead of trying to fight with weapons, human forces began deliberately exposing alien equipment to Earth's most biodiverse environments. Swamps, rainforests, coral reefs, anywhere life was abundant and chaotic. Colonel Dan Murphy, coordinating the effort from his space station, watched as technology failed across the globe. It is like watching an allergic reaction on a planetary scale, he reported. Their ships, their weapons, their communication systems, and everything is breaking down when exposed to Earth's biological activity. The psychological effect on the forces was devastating. These were soldiers who had conquered star systems, who had never known defeat. Now they were being killed by enemies they could not see, could not fight, could not even understand. Commander, trapped in his failing landing ship in Central Park, sent a desperate message to the fleet. We are not fighting a military force. We are fighting the planet itself. Earth is alive, and it is trying to kill us. His words were more accurate than he knew. Earth's biosphere had been engaged in biological warfare for 4 billion years. Every species that survived on the planet had done so by developing defenses against countless threats. Humans were not just inhabitants of this world. They were products of its endless biological arms race. Captain Lisa Brown, emerging from the subway tunnels to see soldiers retreating in panic, understood what was happening. We did not beat them, she radioed to her team. Earth beat them. We just survived long enough to watch it happen. The alien invasion was collapsing not because of human weapons or tactics, but because the invaders had never encountered a world where life itself was a weapon. They had come from their perfect, sterile civilization to fight on a planet that had been perfecting biological warfare since before complex life existed anywhere else in the galaxy. Admiral Richards, watching the fleet begin to withdraw to the outer solar system, sent a message to all human forces. Hold your positions. Do not pursue. Let them learn what we have always known, that survival on Earth means becoming part of the fight for life itself. Above the planet, Commander made the hardest decision in military history. All forces retreat to minimum safe distance. Maintain quarantine protocols. We must study this world before we can understand how to defeat it. But as Dr. Al analyzed the biological samples they had managed to collect, he began to suspect that understanding Earth might be impossible. This was not just a planet with life on it. This was a world where life had become so aggressive, so adaptable, so relentlessly competitive that it had produced species capable of thriving in conditions that would kill most galactic civilizations. They had come to Earth expecting to demonstrate their power through conquest. Instead, they were learning that real power was not the ability to destroy, but the ability to survive and adapt to anything the universe could create. And in that lesson, humanity was the greatest teacher in known space. 1 year after the invasion began, the war was over. Not because humanity had won a great battle, but because the empire had learned something that shattered everything they thought they knew about power. Commander stood in his command chamber, no longer the proud conqueror who had arrived at Earth. His fleet hung in space far beyond the moon, maintaining what his scientists called a biological safety zone. Of the 300 ships that had come to claim Earth, only 60 remained operational. The rest had been contaminated by Earth's microscopic life and abandoned in the cold vacuum of space. Science Commander Al called to his chief researcher. Present your final report on the human species. The scientist's movements were slow and tired. For months, he had been studying samples of Earth's biological diversity, trying to understand how a single planet could create life forms so aggressive and adaptable. What he had discovered challenged everything the empire believed about evolution and survival. Commander, Earth is not just a world with life on it. It is a world where life has been at war with itself for 4 billion years. Every species that exists there has survived by becoming a biological weapon. The humans are not the rulers of this planet. They are its greatest creation. President Helen Martinez sat in the rebuilt White House, reading reports from around the world. The cleanup from the invasion was almost complete. Technology littered the planet, but human scientists had learned to handle it safely. More importantly, they had learned to use it. Doctor entered the president's office carrying a folder full of medical reports. Madam President, the final analysis is complete. Every human who was exposed to technology during the war has shown permanent improvements in health, strength, and resistance to disease. We are not just surviving their weapons. We are becoming stronger because of them. The president looked up from her papers. How is that possible, doctor? The human immune system is the most sophisticated biological defense network in known space. 4 billion years of evolution on Earth has given us the ability to adapt to any threat. When we encountered technology, our bodies treated it like any other challenge, something to be overcome and used for our own benefit. Across the globe, humanity was discovering just how much they had changed. Captain Jake, now promoted to general, was testing new equipment that had been developed from captured alien technology. Human engineers had found ways to make weapons work with human biology instead of against it. The energy weapons are functioning at 120% of original capacity, reported his technical officer. Somehow, human operators are making them more powerful than they were when the aliens used them. Jake nodded, though he was not really surprised. During the war, he had seen humans adapt to conditions that should have killed them. Soldiers fighting in environments contaminated by alien technology had not just survived, they had thrived. Earth had trained humanity for 4 billion years to take whatever the universe could throw at them and make it part of themselves. Meanwhile, in space, The empire was facing a crisis that threatened their entire civilization. Word of their defeat on Earth had spread throughout their territory. Other species that had been conquered by the were beginning to rebel, inspired by humanity's impossible victory. "Commander," reported his intelligence officer, "we are receiving surrender requests from 17 star systems. They are no longer afraid of our power. They say if humans could defeat us, then we are not invincible." Felt something he had never experienced before doubt. For 3,000 years, the empire had ruled through fear and superior technology. Now, a single species from a backwater planet had shown the galaxy that power had limits. But the most shocking development came when Dr. Al presented his final analysis of human society. "Commander, we have been studying their response to our invasion. Instead of being weakened by the war, they have become stronger. Their nations are cooperating more than ever before. Their technology is advancing at an incredible rate. Their population is healthier and more resistant to disease than before we arrived." "How is that possible?" asked, though he was beginning to fear the answer. "Because conflict makes them stronger. Earth has trained them to see every challenge as an opportunity to evolve. We did not invade their planet. We gave them a chance to grow. On Earth, Ambassador Susan Wright was preparing for a meeting that would change galactic history. The Empire had requested peace negotiations, but not the kind that humanity had expected. They were not offering terms of surrender. They were asking for help. President Martinez, Susan reported from her secure communication link, the delegation is not here to negotiate our surrender. They want to learn from us. They are asking humanity to teach them how to survive in a chaotic universe. The meeting took place on a space station built in the asteroid belt, far enough from Earth to be safe for but close enough for human representatives to attend. The contrast between the two species was striking. The humans looked relaxed and confident, even in the artificial environment of the station. Though we're enclosed in multiple layers of environmental protection, terrified of contamination. Dr. Lisa Park presented humanity's findings to the alien delegation. Your empire expanded by conquering worlds with stable, predictable environments. But the universe is not stable. Stars explode, planets change, life evolves. You built your civilization on the assumption that you could control everything, but control is an illusion. Science Commander Al listened with growing understanding. You are saying we have been weak because we avoided challenges instead of embracing them. Exactly, Dr. Park replied. Earth taught us that survival is not about avoiding conflict. It is about becoming stronger through conflict. Every disease that tried to kill us made our immune systems better. Every climate change that threatened us made us more adaptable. Every predator that hunted us made us smarter and stronger. General Jake leaned forward in his chair. You came to Earth believing that power meant the ability to destroy others. What you learned is that real power is the ability to survive anything and keep growing. The negotiations continued for weeks, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Empire, humbled by their encounter with humanity, signed a treaty that made Earth not a subject world, but a protector. Other species across the galaxy, learning of humanity's unique strength, began seeking Earth's protection rather than fearing human expansion. President Martinez addressed the people of Earth from the steps of the rebuilt Capitol building. 1 year ago, an alien empire came to our world demanding our surrender. They believed that power came from the ability to conquer and control. Today, that same empire has asked us to teach them what we learned long ago, that true strength comes not from avoiding challenges, but from facing them and growing stronger. Commander, watching the broadcast from his distant ship, finally understood the lesson Earth had taught him. The Empire had spent 3,000 years becoming powerful by taking from others. Humanity had spent 4 billion years becoming powerful by surviving everything the universe could create. In the cold vacuum of space, the fleet began its long journey home. They were returning not as conquerors, but as students. Earth had given them the harshest lesson in galactic history. That real power was not about imposing your will on others, but about being absolutely impossible to break. And across the galaxy, other species were learning that there was a world called Earth, where life itself had become a weapon, and where a species called humanity had mastered the art of turning every challenge into strength. The age of conquest was ending, and the age of survival was about to begin.